Hey guys, it's Brandon, aka B.Rich Beauty, aka your beauty best friend. Happy Friday, y'all! Is Prince Harry and Prince William finally getting along? Russell Simmons and KIMORA Lee Simmons are suing each other, and Billy Porter bears it all on Tamron Hall. We're talking about that and a lot more. You know what to do. Grab your tea, grab your beverage. Let go! Hey beauty besties, happy Friday, and thank God it's Friday. I hope you had a great week. We've made it to the end of another week. What do you have planned? Whatever you do, I hope it is good for you and your soul and it is relaxing. Honey, I ain't got nothing planned just yet, knock on wood, but we shall see. But let's jump into our first topic. Your favorite retailers, Macy's, Target, Best Buy, and Home Depot are joining the growing list of retailers that are no longer implementing a mask mandate while shopping. A mask mandate if you're fully vaccinated. So Target is saying that if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask necessarily in their store. However, they're going to still continue to, do the social distancing and make sure the store is clean and sanitized. I can actually believe Target because, Target is... The Target I go to is always nice and clean, child, and they made sure you could not get close to each other. However, the employees and the guests that are not vaccinated still have to wear a mask. Now, I'm going to tell you, this all sounds very familiar, like we've been talking about. How are we determining who's vaccinated versus who's not vaccinated? And the people that's not vaccinated, you think they still want to walk around wearing a mask across their face? No, everybody wants to go back to raw dog and air. I'm just saying. We all want to go back outside the way it was, and now we're giving people the honor system to utilize for these masks. It feels a little sketchy to me. So Target has said, if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear one. Home Depot is echoing Target's same sentiments. Fully vaccinated, don't have to wear one, still cleaning, social distancing, all that great jazz. Best Buy is saying that you don't have to wear one if you're fully vaccinated, but if you're doing a one-on-one service appointment, the team member will wear their mask. Fair enough, because you're now real close to somebody's face. And Macy's, child, it's Macy's. At this point, Macy's is saying that, if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, but they're still recommending that you do while you're shopping. But, at the end of the day, it's Macy's. Macy's is like, we got a one-day sale for the next 6 days, and if you want to wear a mask, it's up to you. Just come and shop with us. However, what are y'all going to do? I know I told y'all I'm still wearing masks out in public places for a while, whether or not I'm vaccinated or not, which I am vaccinated because we've already talked about it. But I know for me personally, in certain spaces, I'm still wearing masks, okay? So y'all can go ahead and say if you're fully vaccinated, you can walk around in here shopping and trying things on. And by the way, if we now have the option of not wearing a mask if you're fully vaccinated, does that mean that the dressing rooms at Zara is back open? Because y'all know for the longest time, Zara was like, our dressing rooms are closed. You got to buy all this merchandise, go home, hopefully it fits, and return everything that doesn't. I just want to go back into a dressing room so that way I don't have to go home with 11 pieces just to return 11 pieces to keep only 3. And I know that math didn't math up, but y'all know what I mean. All right, let's move on. Well, it looks like Prince Harry and Prince William are back on the same page. If they're buddy-buddy, but they're aligned on this recent finding from an independent investigation that found that the BBC network and Martin Bashir used deceitful behavior and dishonest tactics in order to get their 1995 interview with Princess Diana. The interview with Princess Diana that shooketh the entire royal family, that exposed every cobweb and skeleton that was all up in her marriage. That same interview where she said there was 3 people in her marriage, her, Prince Charles, and Camilla. That interview. Well, this independent investigation said that obviously the BBC network and Martin Bashir used some horrible tactics in order to convince Princess Diana that the interview was legit and for her to feel safe to come on. Well, Prince William said, and I'm going to read this to y'all real quick, the deceitful way the interview was obtained substantially influenced what my mother said, and he blames it for his parents' relationship falling apart. Excuse me, Prince William? Hi, did you overlook the fact that your mother also said that there was a 3rd person in her marriage, Camilla Parker Boyles, who's now your stepmama? Or excuse me, let me put my British accent on. Your stepmom? Like, I'm sure there are a lot of things in that interview that your mama said destroyed the marriage, but let's not glaze over Camilla. So let's not put all the blame on the BBC for your parents' relationship falling apart, because by the time your mama got to Martin Bashir and BBC, that relationship was already done, child. Okay? And Prince Harry actually hit a little bit harder. You know, I like Harry. Harry's like, I'm gonna be gangster with it. I ain't got nothing to lose. Harry said, the ripple effect of a culture of exploitation and unethical practices ultimately took her life. I agree. He also said that he's concerned that those tactics from 1995 are still used today. Yeah. Harry had to flee the country with the love of his life and his children. He had to pick up his children and go across the pond. Now, you know that it had to be bad if Harry had the nerve to say, let's go to America. Yes, I know they're fighting with Black Lives Matter, but America is the best place for us. Now, granted, he went to Canada first and they were forced into America, but y'all know where I'm going with this. You know it got to be bad if you have to leave your own country in order to escape it all. So I agree. I'm glad that the brothers said this. Now Martin Bashir is like on his last leg, and now 30 years later, this independent investigation. What was taking this independent investigation 30 years to determine? Like, it took y'all 30 years, or did y'all just hire them in light of everything? But nonetheless, I'm glad that these boys at least aligned that this interview and the media was literally part of the destruction for their mother. Good for them. Moving on to some salacious and juicy details. KIMORA Lee Simmons and Russell Simmons are in a legal battle, child. Apparently, Russell Simmons filed a lawsuit against KIMORA and her husband, Tim Lesner, for transferring some of his stock shares in Celsius, the energy drink company, into their name so KIMORA can get bail money for Tim. Child. So if y'all don't know, Tim Lesner is her current husband, and Tim pled guilty back in 2018 on the conspiracy to money launder and the violation of foreign anti-bribery laws. Child, Tim is a stunt queen. You know, he may not be a real queen, honey, but he's pulling stunts like the queens do. Child, and you know Tim used to work for Goldman and Sachs, so you know it had to be some deep money laundering. Well, Russell is saying that obviously they took these shares and transferred it without his knowledge, and his new accountant found a huge discrepancy in accounting with these shares. So he sent a letter to KIMORA saying, hey, do the right thing, replace this, transfer it back into my name, otherwise I'm going to have to file a lawsuit, which he did. Well, child, KIMORA and her legal team said, don't play with me, honey, play with your downward dog position, because we aren't the one. She is saying, her legal team is saying allegedly that these shares that Russell is claiming, first of all, Russell didn't even put up no money for, first of all. So those shares did not financially belong to him is what they're saying. He had no financial investment in it. Now, which also is a little confusing because, you know, Russell's initial lawsuit said that he, KIMORA, and Tim invested millions into the Celsius energy drink company. So now KIMORA's team is saying that, you know, he didn't put no money up for these shares. I don't know. But she's also saying that her and the kids are so shocked at his serial abuse and how he aggressively goes after them. Now, you know, these two kids, Aoki and Mingli, I think, are adults now. Don't bring the kids into this, KIMORA. But KIMORA's team is also saying that Russell is in contractual obligation for some unpaid debts and loans to KIMORA for millions of dollars. Girl, are you telling us Uncle Russ ain't got no money on his rush card? Mr. Namaste himself? And I can't also get over the fact that she keeps calling him a serial abuser. Girl, what this man do to you when y'all was married? We want to know. So it'll be interesting to see how this lawsuit unfolds because Russell's claiming one thing and KIMORA says, don't come for me, boo-boo. So let's continue to watch that. But in the meantime, let's shift gears. So did you guys watch Billy Porter on Tamron Hall, Mr. Pray Tell himself? You know, Billy's interview on Tamron happened to align with his Hollywood Reporter editorial that dropped the same day. And in his editorial interview with the Hollywood Reporter, Billy has announced that he was HIV positive for the last 14 years. Wow, right? So I was really on the fence for talking about this because, you know, as your beauty best friend, I like to bring you guys humorous, informative, insightful conversations, all stemmed around beauty and just pop culture. And I was having a conversation with one of my good girlfriends, and she asked me if I was going to talk about it. And I was like, sis, I don't know. I was like, it feels kind of heavy. But then I thought about it. I wouldn't be your beauty best friend if we didn't talk about the good, the great, the bad, and the heavy at times as well. So I kind of want to highlight a few moments from Billy's interview with Tamron because I thought it was really insightful. One, him being a 51-year-old Black gay man in a space that he's in now. We see the lights, the glamour, the glitz, the everything with Billy, but also knowing a little bit of his backstory as it relates to his arrival to his destiny, as it relates to his struggle with his sexuality in the church, and also being Black, gay in the church and the stigma of HIV, right? So a couple of things. If you have not seen, I'm going to put the link for the YouTube interview in my description box. Feel free to watch it because I won't nearly be able to go as in depth with it as I want to because of timing, but I definitely think it's worth a watch. So first thing first, right? When you look at Billy's story, what I thoroughly enjoy is Billy is a Tony Award winner, a Grammy Award winner, a very successful man. And up to a couple of years ago, Billy's been very transparent that he was sleeping on people's couches for a couple of years because work was not steady. Now, rewind a couple of years, we in pop culture got hit hard with Billy because of his great performance as Pray Tell in Pose. Love it. And as you guys know, this is the last season for Pose. But Billy has been on this journey in the entertainment industry for a very long time. This is just now his moment and his time to utilize his story and to also continue to share his gifts with the rest of us. First thing first, Billy talked to Tamron about why he wanted to do it. As he was talking to Tamron, one of the things that kind of resonated with me is that Billy said one of the first things that gets stripped away from you when you're LGBTQIA+, especially Black and gay, and a part of the LGBTQIA+ community, is your religion and spirituality. Because oftentimes growing up, especially in the Black church or just out and just living life, period, people always say God hates, and I'll let you fill in the blank, right? God hates gays, God hates whatever, right? And he said, we have to stop doing that because if God lives in me, God resides in me, and God resides in everybody who believes in God, right? So with that being said, you don't have the liberty to continue to strip that away. Because what happens when you do that is it now ostracizes, it outcasts, and it creates an internal rip for people that are struggling with who they are, that's trying to navigate who they are, and trying to navigate who they are dealing with something as crippling as what Billy identified in his story with Tamron. He had to file for bankruptcy, he was diagnosed with diabetes, and then within the same year, HIV as well. And then also thinking about the timing that he came up in, he also felt like he had almost like survivor's remorse. You know, he did a great parallel between him and Pray Tell by saying Pray Tell, spoiler alert, he says Pray Tell, spoiler alert, again, fast forward, died by 1 year before the antiviral drugs were introduced that could possibly have saved Pray Tell's life. Billy, on the other hand, is here to survive it. So he's like, what am I to do with this survivor's guilt? What am I supposed to do? Because I technically shouldn't still be here. Well, you have to tell your story. And I agree with that. Like, you have to tell your story, but you have to tell your story in a way that speaks to the community that you are a part of as well. And what I thought was even more impactful was the fact that Billy, as he's trying to navigate, he said no one really knew. The writers of Pose didn't know. He didn't tell his mom until 2 months ago that he was positive, and he's been positive for 14 years because he grew up Pentecostal in the church. And as young as he can remember, kindergarten, he said after school, I would go see a therapist because the people would say, and I was told that I was queer. I don't use the F word, right? So he was like, I was queer. So he started sending me to a therapist at 5 years old, a therapist. That for me speaks trauma already because you're telling your 5-year-old that whatever you are a problem and you are not good enough, right? Then he fast forwards and he says his mom married his stepdad and his stepdad molested him from like 7 to 12 or something along the lines of that. Another layer of trauma, right? All of this happening, all of this, him trying to understand who he is at a young age. Then he layers in how the community start to ostracize his mother. Mind you now, this is a community, and I appreciate that he took the religion into layers because as Black people, we don't go to therapy, we go to God, right? We don't complain about our problems, we take it to the Lord. So you would think as a church and as a community, your community would not ostracize you, but he was saying that the community ostracized his mother, which made it tough for his mom, which then made it tough for him at times. And he realized that if it wasn't for the experiences he had, he knew at 12 he had to get out of his situation and out of basically his household in a sense, so he could further grow and develop. And if you've ever watched Pose, that is really what the ballroom scene is all about. And that is really what Pose has been about, because a lot of children, Black and brown, got kicked out and their family and community turned their backs onto them because of church and religion as well. Fast forward, right? You know, Prey also mentions when he did tell his mother that she said, "You have to stop doing this to me." She goes, "You suffered for this by yourself for the last 14 years and you didn't have to." And he highlighted that that is what Christianity looks like. And if we're talking about Christianity, whether you're spiritual or religious, we have to really identify how we are inclusive, because Christianity does not allow us to pick and choose how we love thy neighbor, how we love thy child. And I'm going to backtrack. He also mentioned his community forced his mother to choose how she was going to love her child. What type of community is that? So to me, I appreciate Billy's story because his story was all about how do we fix what's broken and ingrained into the Black community as it approaches loving your LGBTQIA plus child and allowing that child to still feel rooted and loved in whatever spirituality and religion that they're a part of, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all supposed to be love. Love thy neighbor. How can you love thy neighbor and not love thy child? You can't love your child with conditions. And I say this because I know growing up in my early to mid-late 30s of years of being on this earth, I have had friends who've been diagnosed. I've had friends who've been ostracized. I have friends who've detached themselves from church, the structure of church, right? Because God lives in all of us, and your spirituality is completely different than being affiliated with the structure of church. But I see people struggle, and I've seen people struggle, and it's hard because the world is already hard enough to be Black, to be gay, to be male, to be Black, to be gay, to be female, just to be the opposite of what the normal society deems normal is already hard. And then you add the pressure of a family member or that does not or continues to inflict trauma. So with that being said, I appreciate Billy's story. And I think, also it was quite deliberate because it's Hollywood. Next month, June, is Pride Month. So I think it's a great segue leading up to Pride to start conversations in the Black community, to start conversations with your friends and your family members, and to hold people accountable, but to also look within to see how are you showing up for those in your life and doing it authentically with love. So again, I'm gonna wrap this up. Watch the interview. Let me know your thoughts. I really, really do want to know your thoughts on Billy's interview. I haven't read the magazine interview, but I'm going to buy it because the cover is just fire. And, Billy serves a good fashion, darling. But on that note, I got to go. Guys, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel if you like this video if you like, and leave me a comment. Most importantly, check the notifications and make sure they're turned on, darling. Who loves you? I do. I'll see you on Monday. Bye.